Welcome to the Bougie Baldie podcast with your host, Kelly Rhymes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Bougie Baldie podcast. Today I have another guest, and she is going to be a little bit different than my other guests because she focuses on hair regrowth. That is her specialty, and she has been very, very successful. So let me just tell you a little bit about Saril Vasquez. She is a multi-certified functional practitioner who has the honor of coaching women on how to uncover their true root causes of hair loss and reverse hair loss naturally. Her students rewind the aging clock, feeling more confident about themselves by gaining control and clarity about what turns on or off their aging hair. Her message is, it's not just genetics. After a decade of service in traditional Western medicine and suffering from alopecia herself for the same length of time, she turned to ancient wisdom, heavenly guidance, and earthly remedies to help her reverse her own hair loss after medications, labs, and traditional medical practices rendered her hopeless. Using personalized nutrition, supplements, and lifestyle choices, her flagship course and coaching program, Belcanics, helps her students become masters of their body mechanics to reveal their inner Belle. Welcome, Saril. How are you?
Oh, so good. So happy to be here. Thanks for sharing the microphone with me today.
Oh, no problem. No problem. All right. You know what? I want to start off because a lot of people don't even know what functional medicine is. So can you just go over for the audience, what is functional medicine?
Okay. So I have a history in allopathic medicine, just regular traditional insurance covered medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get into the practice of having a bunch of labs run and having the doctor do a diagnosis based on the labs. And then you're trying to get the labs in range. And if you get the labs in range, then you should be healthy. And sometimes you use medication, sometimes it's surgery, sometimes it's some kind of treatment that they come up with along those lines. Functional medicine is different because it really focuses on how's the body supposed to work and what commonly happens where it doesn't work anymore and something is going awry. And now we have to figure out where in the sequence of events that is supposed to happen is there a wrench. That's why my program is called Belcanics, and it's about mastering your body mechanics to reveal your inner Belle, because we're figuring out the body's a machine, and if we become mechanics of it, then we know how to listen to our bodies and all the symptoms, and we know what our body is trying to tell us, and then we can intervene in the moment instead of waiting for a doctor's appointment and hoping that medication will help us, even though it's going to give us most likely some side effects.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, because I know a while ago when I first heard about functional medicine, I'm like, what is this? But yes, it's a great thing. Now, of course, we see you sitting here. Your hair is thick and it's long and it looks very good, but there was a point where you were experiencing your own hair loss. So can you share with the audience what happened? What was your hair loss journey?
Sure, I'd love to share a picture for those of you that are watching this on video, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. But that is what I used to look like. And that was in the height of when my hair was the worst in 2020. It's currently 2025 at the time of this recording. And you can see my hair is just not suffering the way that it was anymore. And the doctors told me it's androgenetic alopecia and there's no cure. All we could do is slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors were my friends because I worked in the medical field. So the dermatologists, the gastros, and all the gynos, whatever I went to, they just didn't really have the best news. And I had to make a decision. I was like, man, am I just gonna believe them and just decide that this is what it is and fight to keep the hair that I have? Or am I gonna defy the odds and set a new standard and figure out what they don't know? And what I realized is that the dermatologists, the gastroenterologists, all those people, they're operating within the restraints of their reality. And their reality is dictated by what they see. And the tools that they use are introduced to them by sales reps. Like I used to be a pharmaceutical specialty pharmacy rep. And so I understand that the way that it works is you graduate from university, you get your medical degree, you go work for someone else or for yourself. And then it's not like yes, you have to get continuing education. They force you to do that every now and then, but it's not like you're intensely studying all the time to keep up on what's new, or like you're relying on the reps to come in and teach you, hey, there's this new drug, there's this new therapy, this is how it's going to help your practice, this is whether or not your patients are going to complain or not. And meanwhile, the people that are creating those things, they have the bottom line to worry about. And when they're formulating whatever drug or whatever treatment, whether it's a peptide injection or, whatever it is they decide that they're going to do, CRP or whatever on your scalp, as they're formulating that, they're heavily thinking about the bottom line and how much money can we make off of this? What kind of effectiveness is it going to have? Like let's introduce this to the doctors and see if they're willing to try it. And so the doctors are in office and they know patients are coming and complaining about this, and they know that they're expecting to be able to do something about it. So they're going to share what it is they have at their disposal, and they're going to notice that it doesn't really work. And so they're going to say like, hey, this is what I have, but it's really not that effective. Or they're going to sell you on it. Like, yeah, just try it. Because knowing that it might help some people temporarily, it might not. But that's what they have. That's their reality. That's what they know. Now, someone in functional medicine, like the reason why I became a functional medicine practitioner was because I was telling myself, man, I give up. Like I've tried everything. I said like this is it. Like I don't really know what else to do. I did a raw food diet. I did all these supplements and these shampoos and these oils. I was freaking hanging upside down on an inversion machine, massaging my head. Like I was just making my scalp bleed with derma stamping. Like I was doing all the things. And I was just like, man, I've tried everything. I don't really know what else there is. And then I realized when I went to a Tony Robbins conference and he was trying to help someone else get a breakthrough, that there really was no way that I have tried everything. It was literally impossible. Like there was no way that I tried every single thing and every single combination at every single time. Like what about the things that weren't even invented yet? And so miraculously, somehow, after I supposedly tried everything, I found a way to spend $75,000 that I really didn't have. I had to remortgage my home. I had to sell my car. I had to get into debt. I just kept spending, right? I kept doing the expensive tests and seeing the expensive practitioners, functional medicine, doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy because mold was part of the issue. So a part of that investment was in my education as a functional medicine practitioner. I have multiple certifications. I'm a certified functional nutrition counselor, which means I understand how the body works and where it all goes wrong and how to support it. I'm a true cellular detox practitioner, which means that I understand how the body's supposed to detox and where that goes wrong on a cellular level. And I'm a certified event interventionist, which is really about neurolinguistic programming and knowing how to rewire my brain to believe that the result was possible. Because it's not possible if you don't believe it's possible, because then you never take the steps that align with what needs to happen for the result to come, right? Because if someone's not convicted that it's going to grow back, then they're not going to spend $75,000, right? Like you do those types of things when you're convinced. And I have a lot of pictures of the way that I used to look. And it wasn't because I wanted to torture myself and say, oh, I hate the way I look today. It was because I was like, I know I'm going to fix this. And I just need the evidence because I'll have to prove it to people one day. And like, they're not going to believe how bad it was unless I have a picture. And so that's why. And then whenever I took the picture, it wasn't like, oh no, I feel so horrible. It was like, well, what's grown today? Like what what's the area of opportunity? Okay, I got this far now. I got to do this. And like, how do I do that? And I'm researching and I'm learning always through the lens of hair loss. And so, I'm probably going off on a rant at this point, because I know you had asked me a simple question and I've been like blabbering on for a couple of minutes, but the point that I'm trying to get at is, the functional medicine is different from allopathic medicine because it's really focused on not intervening with some kind of chemical, and more
Mhm.
so just like giving the body what it needs to heal itself. And that's why I think there's so much more opportunity in that area, because the body is trying to regrow your hair always. So if it's not, it's stuck. And then it's like, it's not just the hair. It's actually, for me, it was mold, it was candida, it was heavy metals that I had in my mouth. It was allergens in my environment. It was my diet. It was many different things. I might even be missing some things, but it was just the state that I was in was not
Mhm.
conducive to healing. It was conducive to degradation and survival.
So how did you kind of narrow down like what was really causing the problems, like the allergens, the mold? Like how did you even really find those things out?
Wow, good question. So the reason my hair got as bad as it did in 2020 was because at that point I was, oh my God, let me just do raw food was my thought. Because I
Okay.
saw on YouTube, oh, these people are eating like citrus fruits every day and they're regrowing their hair. Maybe it'll work for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was eating so much sugar, even though it was from fruit,
Mm-hmm.
that my hair got the worst it had ever been. And that was because I was creating an inflammatory state from the amount of sugar, and it was feeding a fungal overgrowth. Okay.
Okay.
And so, yes, my filtration was better. I was moving out more lymph. My kidneys were filtering better.
Mm-hmm.
But the cost of that was that I was having more progressive thinning. Okay. So there I realized food actually has something to do with it. And sugar, no matter what source, is a big part of the problem. So
Okay.
that was like something for me. Prior to that, I had figured out that you could use herbs to help your body's ability to balance its own hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And when I figured that part out, which happened by accident, and my father had prostate cancer, and I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to help him. I didn't want him to be a statistic on my Rolodex, because I worked in the medical field, and I was just like, I don't want him to be another one of these people at the pharmacy. Like I want to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put him on some herbs, and his PSA, which is the marker for inflammation in the prostate, it went down by like a whole point in less than 2 months. It was incredible. And I said, I
Okay.
wonder what would happen if I did that. And my hair improved. Now at that point, my hair wasn't as bad as it was here. Like it improved, and I thought, oh, this is it. It's just herbs and hormones. Everybody thinks it's genetics. Everybody thinks it's hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten an improvement, but it wasn't enough of an improvement because I was still missing the mold piece. I was still missing the allergen piece. I was still missing the diet piece. I was missing all those pieces. So yeah, so the first part of it was like realizing herbs can be supported with hormones. And then after that, it was realizing that the diet was a big piece of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, it was realizing that I was waking up in the morning worse than when I was going to sleep.
Okay. So what
I,
by that, what do you mean? Like, were you just still tired or
I was waking up with my hair thinner.
then? Oh, okay. So it was just falling out while you were asleep.
Not falling out, it was thinning. Like
Okay.
the existing hair strands were thinner, and my scalp was very tight. Like right now I can move my scalp up and down pretty easily,
Okay.
and I can wrinkle my crown as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, my scalp was glued. There was an adhesion.
Okay.
And that was suffocating my hair on a follicular level, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I would wake up super thirsty. I would wake up bloated with a white tongue, uh, just a black under eye circles, thinner hair.
Okay.
And I realized, why is this always happening when I wake up? I'm supposed to wake up beauty rested,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Glowing skin, all this stuff. And I realized that there was mold in the AC unit.
Okay. Okay.
And I also realized when I started working from home, as I was spending more time indoors, that the air in my home, the quality of the air was not that great. And I was inhaling it for the majority of the day. And so what ended up happening was one day my husband was massaging my face, because I love face massages. Ironically, the reason why I loved it was because I had a lot of lymphatic congestion in my face from all the mold and the dust and all that other stuff. Dust was another allergen.
Okay.
And he did it while my face was directly under a vent.
Mm-hmm.
And that vent was blowing right into my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt symptoms from that.
Okay.
Like I felt pain in my scalp. I felt like I was thirsty. Like I started feeling symptoms. And I said, what changed? And I opened my eyes and look, I'm like, it's that vent. Like that vent's blowing right at me. So then I decided to do a deep cleaning of the vent.
Okay.
I had never done that before. I treated the AC system for mold, and I had improvements. My hair wasn't gradually thinning from being at home. And there were multiple times in multiple ways. That's one of maybe like 4 or 5 different stories I can tell you where my body told me, hey, something changed. Like I'll give you another one. My husband is from Lithuania. It's very quiet over there. So he grew up almost like in a freaking farm or something, right?
Okay.
Zero noise. I grew up in Manhattan, New York City. So noise helps me go to sleep.
Right.
And so I have air cleaners in my room, but they make a noise. So I would wait for him to go to sleep so that I could go turn on the air cleaner.
Okay.
So he was sleeping and I went to turn it on. And when I turned it on, my heart started racing and he started to snore. And I said, well, okay, what changed? I was like, I turned on the air cleaner. Well, I hadn't changed the filter in quite some time.
Okay.
And so it was polluting the environment. And with my heart racing, that put me in a stress response. And it affected my husband's, sinuses, because he's snoring, his lungs and all of that. So now he's snoring. And so I realized that I changed the air filter in the filter in the air cleaner, and I saw an improvement in my symptoms in that room, right? And so there are even more stories that I can say, but the point is that the body is always trying to communicate when something's going on. I had a client that she got some results and she had less hair falling out. She had the hair on her temple fill in more. And she still didn't really have the thickness that she wanted to have.
Okay.
And I realized that there had to be some sort of trigger still to be affecting her, because it was like as we were undoing the damage with the protocol, she was redoing the damage.
Okay.
And so then I said to her, do you realize that every time you go on vacation, you don't have a racing heart when you wake up? Do you realize that every time you come back home, your son gets eczema? And she's like, oh my gosh, like I thought I did enough with the remediation, but maybe not. She ends up getting a mold dog. And the mold dog that she hired marks like all the vents, and they realize they have mold in the wall.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now that she is, doing that remediation, they can, try moving back in. And now she can get more intentional about getting her hair to thicken in and just like get better results. Because we'll have figured out what the triggers are. And so when it comes to reversing hair loss naturally, it's really not that hard. It's mysterious to people that don't have the practical knowledge or the evidence, and they haven't seen multiple people get the result. They haven't specified in this to understand what's going on. It's mysterious, and you think it's hormones and you think it's genetics and blah, blah, blah. But it really isn't that hard. It's really just understanding like what are the triggers, because there are daily choices you are making that is going to make your hair better or worse. And not just your hair, your health, because the hair loss and thinning, it's a canary in the coal mine. Usually by the time you're having the hair loss, you also have other symptoms going on, right? Maybe it's like blood pressure or your libido, or you're getting migraines, or it's something, right? So there's something going on. And so if the body is expressing this capability to have hair loss and thinning, it's really the body using its given genetics to compensate for something.
Right.
right? So if your hormones are getting out of whack, it's probably because you have inflammation and your body is using extra hormones to modulate the inflammation, because estrogen can modulate inflammation, testosterone can modulate inflammation, and DHT is the type of testosterone that cannot be broken down any further. So that's why the body will create DHT to try to modulate inflammation.
Okay.
But so everyone is chasing that, when in reality it's like chase the inflammation, chase the circulation of the blood and lymph, chase whether or not the gut is functioning well, chase inflammation and if that's chronic or not, and make sure the blood sugar is balanced, and make sure the immune system is not overfiring or too tired, and make sure that um your detox organs are open and flowing well. Like that's really what it takes, right? And so
Hmm.
in the process of addressing those things, what's important is to realize what is making you sick in the first place. Like everyone thinks it's just your genes, like, oh, but what turns them on?
Right.
And what's turning them on, because we weren't born with hair loss, it's that you're having these environmental exposures or the dietary exposures, which caused something internal that's perpetuating. But if you don't stop the external, then the internal will forever continue.
Okay. Okay. So you
So
guys, you hear that? Like you have to deal with internal, and that's what makes you so special as well, because yes, you are helping regrow hair, but you're also healing the body, which is very, very important, because within healing the body, you're healing your hair. And I know I've heard before about, things in our environment that can affect our health. I guess I just didn't know how bad it could be. And you just explaining this, I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I have allergies. I probably need to get my vents cleaned. Before you talked about that, I was like, I think I might need to do that,
yeah.
like just checking out what's going on, or even like if you're burning candles or certain things in your house that may be toxic, those things can affect you. So that was very interesting. Thank you for actually breaking that down and explaining it.
And some people have carpets and they have rugs and they never shampoo them. And those are
Mm-hmm.
dust factories. And if you think about it, it's not like you wove the carpet yourself out of organic cotton. Like it's sprayed with chemicals, it's made out of synthetic chemicals, and
Mm-hmm.
that's disintegrating and you're breathing it in. And so you're not going to pee out and poop out dust. Your body has become a living recyclable machine. Like you're
Mm.
recycling all that stuff and making it into pee and poo so that it can be reutilized by the world, right? So it's
Right.
that's we are like walking recycling machines. And so every time we have to take that in, we're taking a hit. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
car, it's wear and tear. The more miles, the more toxins you filter, the more wear and tear. And yes, you want your organs supposed to be repairing themselves, right? Because that's what
Mm-hmm.
makes human bodies and living creatures unique, that ability to repair itself. But when it doesn't have the building blocks that it needs to repair itself, well, there you go. Now we're talking
Right.
about a cell danger response, which means like the cells are repairing themselves in a very sloppy way because they're more focused on survival than they are thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy to be in a chronic state where your body's focusing on survival instead of thriving, when you think about all the stressors of like, work and
Mm-hmm.
people sneezing on you might kill you, and receipts are toxic. Like, there's just so much going on with everything that we're hearing.
Right.
And then on top of that, the homes, they made them very energy efficient, which is great for your electricity bill.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not great for your health, because the solution to pollution is dilution, whether that's your blood or the air, right?
Okay.
So the reason I was waking up super thirsty was because my body was taking water out of my colon to try to dilute my blood so that my liver and kidneys didn't have to take on too many toxins at once, right? You fill
Okay.
the bucket with more water, you're slowing down how quickly it has to process things,
Mm.
protecting it from more wear and tear. But with the
Okay.
air, it's like you're not getting fresh air from outside. So this toxic air is just recirculating and you're breathing it in. And so there's no
Mm-hmm.
dilution. And so that's a big part of the issue too. So, the homes, just the stress of that, and then the food quality is just horrendous. We don't have as many nutrients as we used to in the soil. We're not living outside enough, getting enough sun and fresh air. The water quality is horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like all these chemicals in the water. So now we have EMF is all over the place, and we are living electrical currents because our heart, the whole reason that we can do an echo and all these different tests with our heart is because of electricity. Like we have electricity in us, right? Electrons and all that other stuff.
Right.
And so like all our basic building blocks have been polluted. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why, like I was reading the Bible today and it was like these people were living 900 years. Okay, and I know at one point God said 120 is the max, but in the Bible, because I'm Christian, I know maybe not everyone that's listening to this is, but let's hypothetically say that that's true. Nowadays, we're seeing people not be able to live as long because they're just so inundated with toxicants. Like it's just the wear and tear on their body that is so overwhelming
Okay.
at a rate. And so if you think about in the brink of evolution, not evolution, but like when we were starting to get more industrial,
Mm-hmm.
people didn't know this stuff and they were living only till like 16, 18, 20, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
we started to realize like, oh, hygiene is important and da 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 da. And so it's like we kind of address that problem there. But the more that we exist on earth and the more comfortable life becomes, the more
Mm-hmm.
we sacrifice cleanliness of our bodies and that ability to heal better. And so, in my opinion, wealth of the future is going to be how well you age, how long you live, and how healthy you are when you're older. Because it's uh, if you're a healthy person, you have like 1,000 wishes, but if you're sick, you only have one.
Right.
Right?
Right. And that's
And
the
so it's
list.
like the people that are investing in their health, like those are going to be the wealthy people because like they're not going to be spending money, wasting money on like medications that make them worse. And they're going to have the energy to go figure out what they want to do. And they're going to plan to live a long time because they've invested in their health.
Right.
And so that's just what I'm noticing. Like a lot of people that are in functional medicine, we're intentional about the supplements we're taking, the water that we're drinking, the food that we're eating, and we're seeing like, damn, like she's 59 and she looks amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, she's prioritizing building muscle, and it's like different things because they're aware of the cost to be alive in 2025. Like it's a high cost health wise to be alive, and so having that awareness, and it's never too late. It's never too late to
Mm-hmm.
start working on it. And the body's an amazing thing. And it can, like, I have clients that had hair loss for 25 years and they reverse their hair loss. Like it's like a miracle. But you just really have to have that intentionality of understanding, like, what is going to get you that result and what is going to deter that result, and being aware of both those things at the same time is what gets you there.
Okay. Okay. Now, I know like when we first met and we were talking about hair loss, you were like asking me all the questions and I was like, you know what? I'm a person on the other side. I'm not worried about it anymore. And I
Yeah.
know you run across people like that. But have you like I guess let's just talk about the severity because for me, I have scarring alopecia. We talked about that. And mine is pretty severe, which is why I'm like, okay, this is it for me. I'm not worried about it anymore because I went through so many years of just mental challenges and just had to get myself through it, right? But have you worked with anyone who has had severe scarring alopecia and you've been able to get regrowth back? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I have, and I would love to. I wish I could just like show you pictures. It would have to take me maybe a few minutes to find one. But like I mentioned before, I had this lady that had hair loss for 25 years, and she thought to herself, this is like I mean, I don't know if you consider this severe,
Yeah, I
but I
mean,
mean,
that's pretty severe
her hair was thin, like just, you know, all
at the
all
top.
all over. And it was,
Mhm.
and I was seeing it through the years and the months getting worse. Um, and this is how she ended up. And that was only 4 months later.
Okay.
Um, you know, and then she yeah, that was how it started.
Okay.
And then that was how it was like, 4 months later. So, it's possible. She had hair loss for 25 years because she had a gastric bypass.
Okay.
They cut out 2/3 of her colon, and she said, "There's no way I'm gonna regrow my hair because I'm missing like the part of my colon that I think is gonna absorb the nutrients." And she had made up her mind about what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I just had to like indoctrinate her in my way of thinking.
Okay.
And I was just like, you think it's that, but not really, because the human body is really smart and it's gonna compensate. For instance, my dad should be in a wheelchair because he has so much blockages in all the veins in his legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he doesn't is because his body, even at the age of 84, made new veins. Like it made new passageways so that he would be able to walk. The
Okay.
body is like it's a survivor. And so yeah, she with her, it was really that there was some scarring there and there were just some inflammatory choices that she was making. And once we brought that level of intentionality and helped her through understanding that and she was consistent with her protocol for those months, like she saw that there was a progressive difference that gave her hope and helped her understand that there is a way out of this. And so I have clients right now that are like in their 70s and I'm helping them with their hair, right?
Okay.
And so it's not like, oh, that you get to this point where you're too far gone, because that's what they told me. And I was
Yeah.
30. I had hair loss for 8 years when I decided that I had tried everything was a lie. And then it took me 2 years to figure out how to reverse it. So it was like by the age of 34 was when I figured it out. And I'm 39 now. Gonna
Okay.
be next month. And so in my world, I'm not gonna, when they put me in the casket, I'm gonna have hair. As long as I, am able to physically take care of myself, like understanding that what my triggers are, avoiding those, and then undoing the damage if it gets redone. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, it's not like I turned on this magic button that was like, hey, I'm never gonna have hair loss again. It was like when I do have shedding or I have thinning, it's a gift because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, my body's telling me something. What is it telling me? Like that's how I found out that dust was an issue. And at one point, I realized that the feathers in my pillows and the feathers in my comforter disintegrated into dust. And that
Oh.
was polluting my environment.
Who
And I figured that
would have
out when
thought about that?
I figured that out when decided to wash my pillow covers because I had been in the house for like 8 years. I never washed my pillow covers. And so, or maybe like 5 years, but still, it's a long time. Never washed my pillow covers. Even though I clean the house every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the body, so it's like I had hair shedding for 5 washes, but it was gradually going down, and then it was like, yeah, my body was trying to purge hair because when it purges hair, it's purging heavy metals, which means it's purging toxicants, which means it's like in a way detoxing me.
Okay.
And that happens to a lot of people. So when you have like this high toxic threshold, the body sheds air to try to compensate for that. But the thinning happens when you have this lack of flow
Mm-hmm.
in your drainage, when you have inflammation. Uh, that's really where the scarring happens, right? And so it can be calcifications, it can be fibrosis, it could be scarring, but once you're able to, like I said, identify what's causing the inflammation, what's triggering that mechanism, undo or unravel some of the damage that's going on in the
Mm-hmm.
person that got turned on, like, work with the gut healing and stuff like that, restore the flow, whatever. And then you can kind of get to the point where the body's ready to break this down
Okay.
and create that elasticity that is going to allow the hair to have nutrition and what's the word I'm looking for? A nutrient and oxygen rich blood, which is
Okay.
what the hair needs in order to grow. And so to me, it's not that hard. It's just preparing the body to get to the point to melt that and create the flow, and then boom, like hair comes back.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite exciting actually. And I am trying to figure out the way to, and I think I'm very close because I did connect with the gentleman that does ultrasounds of the scalp and he could see where there's scarring. And I
Okay.
said to him, like, I'd love to do a study to like prove that scarring alopecia is reversible. Like I see it in my clients,
Hmm.
when they're coming to me with that diagnosis and we're working on it. But to be able to see it in ultrasound would change the game. So it's, that's like I might win a Nobel Peace Prize for that if God allows it. I hope. I don't know. That's not important to me. Like what's important to me is to help women not have and the thing is like you're lucky because you look gorgeous, right? Like,
Thank you.
and you could rock that look and you could have like the hoop earrings and just, look all professional and beautiful. But there's a lot of us like myself, like I don't think I would have been able to do that. I would have to wear wigs and then I wouldn't be able to go swimming and then I had the secret that I'm keeping and it's like something that would affect me when in my relationship life and
Right.
there's a lot of people that are dealing with that and on top of that like I just all these other symptoms that I got rid of, right? Like it was just
Hmm.
like the low libido and just all these other things that were going on. So yeah, it's it's just something that may be hard to believe because we were told so long based on what they believed that it wasn't
Hmm.
possible until you see the truth and then the truth sets you free.
Right, right. Because I can tell you definitely what you said, and your story is a lot of women's stories when they go to a dermatologist, told the same exact thing, including myself. There's nothing we could do. You just have to, figure it out from there. They don't give a lot of options unless you want to get steroid injections. And I'm like, no, I don't, but people are spending a lot of money out there trying to like try these medications and all of the different things that the doctors are recommending. So you guys out there, if you are one of those people who have been exhausting your energy, your time, your funds on trying different I should say, what do they call it? Treatment plans. That's what they call it at the doctor. Trying different treatment plans and you're not receiving success, then you may want to take a look at Belcanics. I'm saying that correctly. Belcanics, and invest in yourself that way, because at least this way you are improving your overall health as well as your hair. And this is a long-term, forever solution. Okay. So if you want to spend money on wigs and thousands of dollars on all of these different things and not receiving what you need and you're not fully a happy person and living life the way you should, then you need to try something different, and trying that holistic approach will be that best option. So, Saril, I know you have a program. So let's talk to the audience about your program, how they can get in touch with you, and all of those things.
Great, thank you for asking. I have a Facebook group called Reversing Hair Loss Naturally. And I go in there once a week and I teach and I answer questions. And so that's a good place if people are just like, I just want to stay in her energy and kind of like, listen to what she has to say. You can scroll the group. You can also browse my website. My website has blogs, it has a testimonials page, it has an about page, it has a library of some of the podcasts I've been on. So I'll be happy to add yours to that list. So you can kind of, binge watch and learn more. I also wrote a book. And it's an ebook. It's a workbook. And the reason it's a workbook is because it helps you practice what I'm preaching here, which is the science of listening to your body and the symptoms and being able to make sense of it and understand, well, what are the choices you're making that's making your hair worse, and like let's not make those choices, right? Let's figure out the choices where you're not having that many symptoms. So they can, I don't know if you'll provide that in the show notes, but
Yeah.
they can go to my website belcanics.com/book and they can get a copy of that. And I also have a quiz there. If they're wondering like, but is my hair loss reversible? Well, there's a quiz if you want to take it, right? Because there's some
Mhm.
people that are still wondering that. And as far as my program is concerned, I have different things that I offer. The way that I help people that have scarring or they have calcifications or they have some kind of adhesion that is creating the thinning, the progressive thinning, is usually in a 6 or 12 month program.
Okay.
And the reason why I think I have a lot of people that are happy and provided pictures and left testimonials is because there's a one-on-one, so they get the support because they literally get to voice note me, they get to text message me. Like providers in functional medicine don't do that. You got to email them, and if you got too many questions, you got to book a call and you got to pay for that call.
Right.
But they have direct access to me, and there's also a group component where we have a group chat and we meet as a group, and we even go through challenges together. Like the five most inflammatory foods when it comes to hair loss is sugar of any kind, gluten, corn and rice, because corn and rice have a type of gluten in it. And dairy, which dairy is something that when you do enough gut healing, you could probably reintroduce it. But when you're
Okay.
dealing with leaky gut and stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit harder. And and it's not like you have to abstain from all these foods for the rest of your life if you want to regrow hair. But what I have my clients as a group for 21 days abstain from these foods together. And so that's my 2 month program. And if you're in my 6 or 12 month, you get to do that too. But what we're doing there is like really focusing on less shedding and detoxing and opening up the detox channels and a little bit of gut healing work and some of the hormone things. So that's what we can do in a 2 month time frame. And that's only like a group coaching thing. But the 6 month and the 12 month has that. And the best part about that is like you start seeing other people are getting results. And so you're not thinking like, oh, is this gonna work? Is this working for me? You're like, oh my gosh, she got the results. Like, I wonder if I'm next. And so that really eliminates that barrier of fear. And
Okay.
it builds community in a situation that's a difficult thing, right? You're not like, no one's really able to talk about hair loss and thinning as much as they want. And when they do, it's like taboo and people don't understand. And they try to say, oh, it's not that bad, or oh, it's
Right.
okay. And really it's all you think about. You're just obsessed, unless you get to the point where you kind of like want to desensitize like you did and try to not make that an emotional thing, which I understand like why people would do that because it can really like I was obsessed. Like with late night Googling,
Yeah.
just like it was just crying spells, like didn't want to go outside, didn't want to take selfies, super self-conscious about the direction that the sun was shining because is it going to show my scalp and
Mhm.
dating. I mean, it's just like it was just so traumatizing. So to be able to have a group where you finally have that safe space to like share your fears, your concerns, your questions, I think is a beautiful thing that really helps the women. And a lot of them end up staying long term, like they stay month to month and they just kind of stay part of the community and kind of have that insurance plan to always be able to ask me questions as they continue on in life. So and I have a course that comes with all of that. It's a 10 masterclass course. It's very intricate. It's like everything from those 5 things that I told you, like the
Mhm.
inflammation, blood sugar balance, all those things, like why that's important for hair loss and how to focus on getting that better, all the way to like how to be alkaline, how to detox, how to meal prep, like all these other things,
Okay.
some recipes, like it's a very intense program, and that's part of the offering as well. So people get to watch those videos, and then I have group calls, so people come to the calls and I'm teaching off of something in the course. So it's very, very, very holistic and intentional and very focused on hair. Like it's
Mhm.
everything that I talk about, it's all about the hair. Like I could be talking about the liver, but I'm relating it to the hair. I could be talking about your toes, but I'm relating it to the hair. Like, it's like everything is about, but how does this affect your hair? But the whole body as well, right? Because you have to create that healing space. So
Right.
that's pretty much how I help my clients, and by the time they're done, they really feel like a different person, like someone that knows how to read labels better, like they're more intentional about what water they're drinking, like they understand that that pain in the back of their eye is not random and that it
Mhm.
probably means that they have lymphatic congestion. And so they'll know to check their cervical lymph nodes and check for tenderness, and then they'll know what to do to open that up, because if you have too much congestion here, then that's going to affect how much blood flow you have to the scalp. And so things like that, even your oral care, like I did a whole teaching on that a couple weeks ago. When you have a lot of bacteria in your mouth, and you one of those people where like maybe your breath always stinks, or you're brushing your teeth, but you can't get it slick. You can't get it to feel sleek. Like it just feels like grimy always. Well, those microbes are going right into the gums, which is going right into your bloodstream, and it's directly affecting your gut. And like you can actually have an oral routine that is so good that by the time you're done brushing your teeth, not only will your teeth feel like you just came out of the dentist, but your bloating will go down because of the
Okay.
fact that those mic it's like your oral cavity is a reflection of your gut. And so when you have like too much bacterial overload, that is affecting the flow of your lymphatic system. And then especially if you don't have your tonsils, your lymph nodes get clogged. And then like I said, then all of this gets clogged. And then you might start feeling like you're feeling like you have pressure here. Maybe your eyebrows are starting to thin out. Maybe you go like this and you feel some relief when you do that. Well, you have congestion here most likely, because I do that and I don't feel any relief. Like it actually bothers me because I'm rubbing against my skin.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone that has lymphatic congestion, they're going to do that and they're going to be like, oh, that actually feels good. All right, well, that means your body's saying like there's something stuck here and it's good when you move it out. It makes me feel better, right? And so that's those are the type of things that I help my clients really understand. Like, okay, how does this relate to the hair? And like, and then I'll tell them like, oh, you could just there's these things that you can do to like both massage wise and topically or lifestyle wise to really open this up and get that part of it right. And so like
Okay.
this, it's not just about putting oil in your hair, and there's a time and a place for things, but some people are putting oil on their hair and more hair is falling out because they're doing it at the wrong time and they're not knowing how to wash their hair. And so it just really demystifies like what needs to happen in order for someone to reverse their hair loss naturally. And then when they start seeing changes, they get excited. They're like, oh my gosh, like maybe this is working.
Yes, good. Okay. Well, and I will have all of the links that were mentioned in the description of the show. So you guys don't worry if you didn't catch it, it will be in the description. All right.
If I could say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Typically, the way that I start with my clients is with this thing called a root cause resolution roadmap.
Okay.
Okay. And it is actually, let me go back. You could delete that part. I'm gonna like start over.
Okay.
One way that I start with my clients is with this offer that's called the Decode Your Hair Loss Symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a couple pages long. You're filling out all these different symptoms, how often you get them, if you get them at all, the frequency, the intensity of them. And when you fill that out and send it to me, I'm able to sit down and explain to you, okay, well, you have this symptom, this symptom, this symptom that's attached to, let's say, the nervous system, the digestive system, the endocrine system. And this is how that system affects your hair. And that's like, it's kind of like a little bit of a map, right? I have another thing that I do that's more intense than that. That's called a root cause resolution roadmap, but that's a lot more involved. If
Okay.
someone really just wants to like sit down with me and kind of get an overview of like, well, kind of like what's going on, and have a better understanding of my offerings and which one would be better for them, I really need that, at least that symptoms tracker for me to know like how much time I would want to have with them and the expectations of what they can want to see change based on the amount of time I have with them, right? And so typically, I'm not going to mention the cost, but I am going to mention that I'll give you guys a 50% discount.
Okay.
And so there's a discount code called podcast50. So if you go to my website, belcanics.com/store, and you'll see the second offer, which is the Decode Your Hair Loss Symptoms call with me. You can use the discount code podcast50 and you get 50% off of that.
Okay.
So that you can sit down with me and go over all your symptoms, and I can kind of tell you like, well, here's what's going on based on your symptoms and what could be going on. And then at that point, you could decide if you want to go one more level into this root cause thing where that's like I'm mapping out your whole history. That
Okay.
takes me like 6 hours. That's a whole different situation because I'm asking you everything from were you born vaginally to did you get the jab and the virus that went around. And that's more intense. But just decoding your symptoms, I think, is valuable because it really gives you some clarity of like how everything is connected and how it's all connected to your hair loss. and what functionally needs to be done to kind of get you to a place where your body can focus on regrowing hair, and you have some of your questions answered too as well, if you're wanting to ask questions, anyone who's listening, right? So I'm going to offer that to your audience in case
Okay.
they were interested in meeting with me.
Well, thank you for that. So you guys make sure you get that 50% off. Go to her website. And you said it was the second. Tell them how to get to it from your website one more time.
So Bellcanix is spelled B as in boy, ELLE. So it's the word Bell. And then Canix, right? Instead of mechanic with a me, it's a Bellcanix. So it's BELLECHANICS. So my website is bellcanix.com. And then you could do /store, STORE.
Okay.
So when you go there, the second option is the decode your hair loss symptoms, you know, call with me, right? The session with me. And so
Okay.
you would click on the second one and you would use the discount code podcast50.
All righty.
That's 50%
All right. So I
off.
hope you guys got that time. Go ahead. Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, it's 50% off. And then you're going to get a tracker and you're going to fill that out and you're going to email it to me and you're going to book a call. When we sit down, I'm going to be like, okay, well, hold on a second. You got hair shedding, you got bloat, you got, you can't remember things. You got, swollen fingers. Like, and so I'll be able to say, like, it sounds like, and, we'll have a little conversation about what's going on, with your history. Not that intense, but I can tell you pretty much, like, it sounds like your digestive system is implicated in your hair loss, and this is how. And so that would be kind of give you some understanding. It'd be like, you know what, actually, I haven't pooped in 3 days. Like, whatever it is, right? I can help you understand, like, well, you probably have estrogen dominance, and since it's been sitting there for so long, you're re-releasing the estrogen back into your bloodstream, and this is how that affects your ability to detox and your hormones. And I can kind of give you more context to help you know, like, hey, it's not that your genes are going to haunt you. It's not that this is, your fault or you're a victim. It's more like there's just a few things that needs to be tweaked. And then, there's hope for you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. But if there was one thing that you could say to someone out there who is really going through it and you want to offer some words of encouragement or upliftment to them, what would you tell them?
I would say that your fears can dictate your reality. Like, if you have a fear, like if I had the fear of, like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna lose my hair, and this is what it is, and I'm just afraid of it. I think that's probably what happened, because I would have been like, okay, well, I'm afraid of being disappointed, of something not working, and I'm afraid of just like wasting money and not getting the result, and I'm afraid of people giving me more bad news, and I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm just gonna like work on not feeling disappointed. And if that happens, then what ends up happening is you could end up feeling disappointed, because while you're not getting the result that you want, you still have the disappointment if that's something that you're like remaining emotionally attached to, like it's. And so I would say, like, don't let that fear like become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and just continue to have the courage if in fact that's what you want. If you're not someone like Kelly that can look gorgeous without hair, and what you really want is to like get your hair back, like, don't live in the fear of like, I'm never going to get it. Just live in the certainty of like, I'm going to figure it out or I'm going to die trying. And that's really like where the miracle will happen, because it's literally in 2025 we'll call it a miracle. But from 5 years from now, it's not gonna be a miracle. Like we're just kind of getting to this place. We're at the brink of trying to get the word out, and like it's I don't know that many people that are getting the word out, but like it's catching on. Like, people are starting to see other people, and like the more people you meet that they're like, oh yeah, I was bald and like now I'm not, or I had this problem and now I'm not, then the more you start to think like, oh well, how did you do it? Or maybe it's, and so it's like it's starting to catch on. And so So just don't be afraid and get in alignment with what you really want, if that's what you really want. If you can't be like Kelly looking all gorgeous like that.
Well, thank you again. All right, you guys. Well, that is going to wrap up our episode of the Bougie Baldie podcast. But before we leave, I just want to make sure you guys know that I am still looking for partners and collaborators to be on the Bougie Baldie show. So if you are a person out there that has a business that supports hair in general, it could be hair loss, it could be hair regrowth, hair care, anything related to hair, and you're interested in marketing your company, your product, your service on a global platform, then you want to book a call with me so that you can see if you will be a good fit for the Bougie Baldie TV show. Okay. So I will put that link in the description notes as well. And you guys could just simply click on it and schedule a call with me and we'll discuss further. All right. But thank you so much, Saril, for coming on here and talking about bell mechanics. I keep calling it bell mechanics. Belcanics.
Yes.
Let me get it right. Belcanics. Telling everyone what you do, because I believe you are a great help. You are something that, or someone who people are looking for, because there are so many people out here who are experiencing hair loss and just want regrowth, and they're trying all of these things that doctors are telling them to do. It's not working, but coming to you, they could see some real results. So thank you for sharing. And you guys in the audience, make sure you go check her out and work with her. If you need the help, sign up for one of her groups, her Facebook groups, one of her offerings she has. Make sure you work with her, okay? All right, so that's all I have for you today. From my heart to yours, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Are you a woman struggling with hair loss, feeling unattractive and insecure? At Limitless Mindset Coaching, we understand the emotional toll that hair loss can take. In just 90 days, we help you transform from feeling lost and embarrassed to radiating with confidence and joy. Imagine building your self-esteem, discovering the perfect camouflage technique to cover up your hair loss, and receiving tips and tricks that can help you with your hair loss and embrace the new you while connecting with a supportive community of women just like you. Say goodbye to those negative emotions and hello to a positive mindset. Picture vibrant new relationships, walking through the room with your head held high, participating in social events and activities again, and living a life filled with happiness. Are you ready to take that first step? Well, visit www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com or click the link in the description today, and let's embark on this empowering journey together.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldie podcast. Don't forget to subscribe